It's wonderful to be with you all. I am speaking from Camberley. I'm not from the south of England. I'm actually from the north. I'm from Sheffield. Have lived in Scotland where my parents live as well. So hopefully you'll all understand the accent, but I know you're all across the UK, which is wonderful and amazing. And yeah, it's a real privilege to be with you and talk to you about social media. And before we start, I'm wanting this to be really interactive, and hopefully a poll should come onto the screen where basically I'm asking, what is your favorite social media? So I'd love for you to answer below and just see what kind of comes through. And maybe you don't have an answer at all, and you can just end the poll straight away. But yeah, I'd love to see what people vote for. That's great. Wonderful to see you all voting. Okay, I can see that Facebook is very much in the lead. YouTube is fairly close. Instagram, no votes for Snapchat. One vote for TikTok. Great. Wonderful. Great, just look at that list. And for those of you who are very much beginning on social media, you think, flipping heck, there's a lot of social medias there. Do I have to try and make content for all of these social medias? And hopefully you'll get something from my workshop today that maybe will ease maybe that need that you have to keep on being on all platforms. But instead, I guess like the focus is that I want you to think about going deep and going narrow. I'll explain more about that in my presentation. And also, before we start, I've got some advice that I'd love for you to do right away. And I'd love for you to either, if you've got a mobile phone and you use your Notes app, to create a note called social media ideas. If you prefer pen and paper, then I'd love for you to grab your pen and paper, whatever it is, something that you've got access to, and write social media ideas. Because one of the biggest battles that we have with social media is coming up with ideas for content. And I'm quite into in social media, learn about that, but also about productivity as well. And there's a great book called Getting Things Done by David Allen, and he talks about your brain. And the idea is that he says is that your brain is for having ideas, not for holding ideas. So one of the things that I always do, whenever I get an idea of a content or something like that, I record it straight away. And during this talk, I might be saying stuff, and then you're thinking, oh, actually, that'd be really a cool thing to post on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. I'd love for you to be capturing those ideas straight away and keep on doing that as a practice as we go along, because that is one of the biggest battles we have with social media, is trying to think of content ideas. So create that note in your Notes app, whatever it is. I've got it in mind, just because that'll really help. Okay, cool. So let me just explain some of my credentials. So I'm just going to, I don't know if we can hide the poll. I don't know if it's just on my screen. Yeah, there you go. So let me just go through some of my credentials, and actually Sam did a lovely introduction to me, but why am I coming here to speak about social media? And I like it how Sam said it, is that I don't consider myself an expert. I'm someone who is willing to have a go and have a practice. And I have the motto that practice makes better. I know we say practice makes perfect, but I don't think we can ever be perfect on social media. But I'm willing to practice, and I know that with a bit of strategy and a bit of foresight, that actually can make more of an impact. So this is just the first picture that I ever posted on Instagram. So that's my personal account, Odeeksy. It got 1 like. Just sometimes that can happen on social media, but I thought I'd show you this here. Now you can see that I posted on the 26th of November 2011. Those of you got a keen eye. And Instagram was actually invented, came to being in 2010. And so I've actually been around that platform for a while. I had Facebook when I was a young person. I am now 30 years old and have grown up and used social media quite a lot personally, but more so now professionally in my role as the centre director for a youth work charity. And this is one of the account, just a screenshot of the Youth for Christ, Camberley Youth for Christ Instagram account that I lead. I've been using it now for 3 months, and you can see, look, you know, I don't have tens and thousands of followers, but we do have 1,000 followers, and yeah, so I don't see me as this like social media influencer, but I've got idea, and I'm well read about, you know, what best practices are and that type of thing. I've also recently just started doing stuff on TikTok as well, and on there, and I've only been doing it since May, I think it was, this year, and that's already on 1,314 followers. So I thought I'd just show you that, just so you're thinking, you're coming here, wow, Ollie Deeks is this social media influencer. He's a complete expert. I'm not. I want to be honest with you, but I've got idea, and I've got practice, and I've got suggestions for you to get to a higher level, or to even start with social media. Wonderful. So those are my credentials, and I wanted to start off by asking this question: why social media? Because it's so important that we know the why before we get on to the how to. And I want this seminar to be very practical as well. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms, okay? And I'm going to give you this question here: why social media? And I'd love for you to have around about 8 minutes introducing yourself, and also talk about, you know, why did you sign up to come along to this webinar, and, you know, what are your thoughts? Why do you think you should be using social media? There's a reason why you come here, and I think potentially you might have the answer to this, but why were you drawn to this about learning about social media? What is the why behind it? So I would love for AJ to put you into your breakout rooms. I'm going to give you about eight or so minutes. And I'd love for you to maybe feedback in the chat as well, and maybe I'll get a chance to read that at some point. But yeah, let's get into breakout rooms, and let's discuss together, because we're all part of one family, being part of church. So let's be church together and have a little few discussions around social media. So let's do that. Cool. Yes. So now everyone's back. Just to say again, love for you to write in the chat section just some of the conversations and discussions that you had about why you'd like to engage with social media. Just another thing to add as well. I'm going to share a website resource with you guys, and this link that I'm just sharing now is a link to my website, and basically I have got loads of resource on there that should help you with your social media game, let's call it, social media, if you want to get on board. So one of the things that I definitely encourage you to download on that website page is it's called Ollie's social media help sheet, and on there I've got a PDF document that you can download and keep, and I've got lots of content ideas there for you. I've told you the steps of how to set up a Instagram page if you wanted to link it to a Facebook page. I've also got on there like recommended equipment. So, you know, Sam talked about grants that you can apply for to get some equipment. I've got some suggestions there, some things for you to buy, very basic stuff that help you to get going with thinking about content creation. Yeah, so it's a useful document. I'm going to share it one more because I can see the chat's all going crazy. Just one more time, and maybe AJ can keep on sharing it as well. So do go on that website, click it, and please use it and download stuff as well. Okay, just a reminder as well for the chat is I want to leave time for your questions. So if you do have any questions, please write them in the chat, and Sam will collate them at the end. Although I've just had a thought, maybe it would be easier to send your question to Sam's chat, which you can do. That might make it easier for her to collate everything at the end. But yeah, Sam, I'm trying to make your job a little bit easier for you, but there you go. Anyway, let's get into this question. Why social media? The why is so important. I've read a fantastic book by a guy called Simon Sinek, and he talked about the importance of why. And it's so important when you know, if you are leading a church or leading a youth ministry or in any kind of leadership role, that actually you lead with the why. Why should we do this? Why do we exist? Because that's what keeps us grounded and keeps us focused on our mission. So let's have a little look at this. Why social media? And I actually really feel that the why for social media is actually quite obvious. And it's been obvious because of what happened with COVID-19 and the pandemic, and our churches, our youth groups, our community groups, whatever they were, all of them having to shut down and us going into lockdown. And it's like, well, how do I continue my engagement with friends, family, congregation members, potential congregation members? How do I keep in contact? How do I reach them? And a lot of people turn to social media to answer that question. So I feel like the why should we engage with social media, has been made obvious through the pandemic. I love listening to podcasts, and podcasts are a great resource to find about like good practice on social media. And one podcast, if you're into podcasts, that I'd highly recommend is a guy called Brady Shearer, and he leads a company called Pro Church Tools. He is Canadian, and the content is very Canadian. So I'm sorry if you're Canadian out there, but sometimes it's a bit cheesy. But he's very good, and I would consider him a social media expert and a social media influencer. So I'd highly recommend you to check him out. I've actually linked his YouTube channel on that web page that I've made for you guys, so you can check him out there. And one of the things that he always says when he starts his podcast or starts his YouTube, and he says this, that we are living through the biggest communication shift that we have seen in the last 500 years. Okay, he always says that. And what does he mean by that? Well, let's think back. Going back 500 years, and the thing that changed this communication shift, that caused a communication shift 500 years ago, was the invention of the printing press. It changed how people consumed information. It changed how people could consume information. And maybe someone could put in the chat, does anybody know when the printing press was invented? Anyone know what year? I'm going to have a little look, see if anyone can get this. All of a sudden, it's become a quiz. Where's my chat? Does anybody know when the printing press was invented? 1809? No, not 1809. According to anyone else? Okay, I'm loving this, guys. Loving this. Can see you all having a go. Right, let me tell you, I hope this is right in my notes, but it was actually 1455, the printing press was invented, although some of you probably minus 500 years on that, and I'm sure it's not to that exact date, but by Johann Gutenberg. And it really did change how information is around. And it's true that right now we are living in this communication shift. And let me just read this out to you, and let me get you thinking. So right now, how do you order a taxi? Well, a lot of people use Uber. Uber's the most popular taxi service there is right now. What else? How do we watch films? Netflix, Amazon Prime, maybe even the Disney Plus. How do we shop? Maybe Amazon, eBay. How do we buy our food and order a takeaway? Just Eat, Tesco delivery, Ocado if you've got a bit of moolah. How do we listen to music? Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. How do we date? Tinder, maybe, don't know. Confession, I met my wife through an online Christian dating website. Christian Connection, a lovely place to find romance, to find potentially your partner. But I met my wife online. More people are doing that now. How do we consume information? Do we whip out the Wikipedia? How do we whip out the encyclopedia? No. There are those people who do Zoom and have lovely bookcases behind them, and I wonder if they do that to find information, but I doubt they do. What they do is they Google it. They Google it. Can you see how there has been this communication shift? We go straight to online. We go straight to those places. And finally, and this is where we've seen a change, how do people, including young people, find their community? How do they find their self-worth? How do they find their value, their identity? Well, there's a lot of people that do use social media for that. Okay, here we go. I've got some interesting, I've got some cool stuff here about some of the social medias and when they came into being. So this was before 2005, okay? So let's see what existed. So YouTube was invented, came into being. That sounds very Christian that I'm saying that. It's happened, was invented 2005. Google Maps. I use Google Maps all the time. I can't get anywhere without Google Maps. 2005. What else? Facebook, 2006. Before 2006, Facebook did not exist. There was the likes of MySpace and another one that slipped my mind. I can't remember. But Facebook, 2006, which really started a revolution of social media. It kind of all really started to happen on Facebook. And then we had Twitter that came next. The invention of the iPhone, Steve Jobs, Apple, this sparked the revolution of smartphones. I know there was BlackBerry before that and accessing your emails and that type of thing, but it was a bit clunky because of all the keys. And then Steve Jobs and his team invented the iPhone, and the best styler that you'll ever use is your finger. And so iPhone kind of really sparked this smartphone revolution, which then turned a lot of social media from on a desktop to actually mobile and app based. So we got the iPhone there. Netflix, 2007. Around there, we got Spotify. I can't see the date there because your lovely faces are in the way. 2008, Airbnb, 2008, Uber, 2009, Instagram, 2010, like I mentioned before. Interesting fact for you, Instagram was bought by Facebook. So Facebook actually owned Instagram, and it was bought for $10 billion, which at the time seemed like a lot of money. But right now, Instagram is worth over $100 billion. Not a bad investment there from Facebook. Let's go to the next one. Snapchat, 2011, so fairly new. And then TikTok as well in 2017. So can you see how, going back to 2005, none of these actually existed, and now they do exist, and they're very, very popular in our world today, and using them. Some things to ponder there. Okay, so my question is this: what are your goals for your social media? Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I want to go a bit more into the why, because I feel like I haven't gone there completely yet, because I forgot to mention about the Bible, and I forgot to mention about Jesus. And I do feel that as people of faith, and some of you are Christians, some of you might not be Christians, but for someone who is a Christian, actually, social media gives us an opportunity to go beyond our face-to-face interactions, to be salt and light in dark places, to be where attention is, to be light. I think of the commission that Jesus gave us as Christians. In Matthew 28 verse 19, we read, "Go into all the world and make disciples." In Mark 16 verse 15, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel." In John 20 verse 21, "As the Father has sent me, therefore I send you." And in Acts 1 verse 8, "You will be my witness in all of Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the rest of the world." The common theme here is to go. We are called as Christians to go, to be where the attention is at. And the statistics show that people are on social media, that's where people's attention is. And that's where I feel as Christians that we can be there and preach the good news. We can preach the gospel. We can talk about positivity. And I'm not naive, and I know there are a lot of negatives around social media, okay? I know there are issues regarding cyberbullying. There are issues with, I've forgotten what it's called now, manipulating people to buy certain things. There's issues with hacking, all these different types of things. I know there's a lot of negativity around social media, but I also think there's a fantastic opportunity to be good news, to be salt and light in these places. And so that's where I feel where we should be. And that's some of the why that I think and that I feel. Okay, great, wonderful. So going back to this question, and I'd love to put you back into your breakout rooms because, you know, I want you guys to discuss and learn from each other, because I want to learn from you guys as well. And the next question that I'd love you to discuss is to think about, what are your goals for social media? What purpose are you going to use it for? Let me just give you some examples that might help guide maybe some of your discussions, or might spark a few ideas. You might just have these 3 goals here. If you're a church, or if you're a youth worker or a children's worker, or you work for the church, the first goal could be that actually we want to promote spiritual practice. Okay, we want to use social media to promote spiritual practice. The second could be we want to promote meaningful engagement that promotes community with our congregation and others. And then the third could be your church. We want to share our church's story. We want to share stories of people who are connected with our groups, who are connected with our youth work, our children's work, our church, or even just with our families and stuff. And then I guess, like, thinking this question for Camberley Youth for Christ and the charity that I lead, one of the things that we're a youth work charity, and so one of my goals for social media is that we create relevant and meaningful content that resonates with young people. That's one of our goals. Another one is we want our content also to be relatable for young people that go to schools. And also we want to tell the Camberley Youth for Christ story as well, and our events and that type of thing. So I've done a lot of waffle there. I'd love for you guys to go into your breakout rooms, have a little discussion of this question. You know, what are your goals for social media? Well, welcome back. I hope you all had some good conversations around this, and goals are really important because they help steer and they help give us a direction of what we want to do with social media. And also, if we've got a goal, then also it can help us which social media potentially to concentrate on, and think about which one we should go for. And a top tip for you right now, you can't be everything to everyone on social media. You can't. And normally the accounts that do really well on social media are the ones that are focused on a niche, focused on their goals. For me at Camberley Youth for Christ, I make content for young people, but if I started making content about houses, like selling houses, it doesn't make any sense, doesn't reach any of my goals. It doesn't fit with my niche. So it's always, as a good bit of advice for wanting to start out, think about who's my target audience, what are my goals for this, how can that maybe drive some of my ideas of what content I can make. Wonderful. So one of the issues that we have with social media, and especially because of the pandemic, is that everyone jumped on social media. Okay, some of you here probably might not have done, but I know a lot of people will have done, and people started making loads and loads and loads of content online, and it's now harder and harder to get organic reach. When I say organic reach, what I mean by that is when you make a post and you post it out there, of how many people see it, how many eyes get to see this. Facebook has made it harder. There used to be a time when you could do a post on Facebook and then lots of people would see it, but now numbers are down. Instagram as well is down, and it's becoming much harder and harder to be noticed on social media, just because of all the noise. Anyone who likes the Grinch will know that quote from the film. So it's important, I believe, that we have a strategy when it comes to social media. And so I'm going to go through bits of strategy that's going to help you implement your goals and give you more of an idea, so that you can stand out. Because like another top tip for you when it comes to social media is that attention is your biggest commodity. Okay, so what do I mean by that? What do I mean by attention is your commodity? Well, basically, if you don't have if someone's attention, then the post is not going to go and do very well. You need to grab people's attention straight away. So if we're doing videos and stuff, you've got about 5 to 10 seconds actions to grab someone's attention straight away, to get them hooked in to consume this information right away. If you've got a photo and you keep on posting the same photo over and over again, people will just flick right past it. You need something that's going to grab someone's attention, because that is your commodity on social media. So there you go. That's another kind of top tip for you. So we need a strategy, don't we? We need a captain, we need a ship, and we need to know where we're going. So let's have a little look at some strategy advice that I've got for you. Now, some of you will want to write all this down. If you go onto the link that I shared with you on the website, you can download my PowerPoint, so you can have all these slides here for you, so you don't have to write them down. And I believe Sam is recording this as well, so you'll be able to re-watch this as well. So don't feel like you have to try and scribble everything down. But let's go for the first one here. And this is from Brady Shearer. I mention him a lot because he's very good. And he talks about this: stop the scroll. Stop the scroll. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go back to the invention of the iPhone. Okay, so the iPhone sparked the revolution of the smartphone. You now can get lots of different smartphones from different companies. Other brands are available. This is not sponsored by Apple, but I've got an iPhone, and so people often engage with social media through their phone, through apps. And when you go on an app and you might open up TikTok, or you might open up Instagram or Facebook, you normally get a news feed. They're called different things on different platforms, but you get a news feed where people's content will come onto your feed, and then you'll get to see it. And what people do is, when they go on social media, is they're not going on it to solve rocket science. Normally they're going on it out of boredom, or they're going on it because boredom, normally they've got nothing else to do, or it's just out of habit or something like that. And it's just about swiping. You might notice that yourself, that actually when you go on social media, you're just swiping. Oh, something's got my attention there, and you stop and you have a little look. This is where stop the scroll comes in. What we want, part of your strategy, is you want people to pay attention straight away, and to do that you need to stop the scroll. I've got in brackets here people's faces. They've done some research around what kind of social media posts do better, and the ones with people's faces smiling or doing a silly gesture or something like that, they often do better and grab people's attention. And when I say people's faces, I don't mean stock photos. I mean real people, real places, real people that are connected to your church, to your youth ministry, to your children's ministry, to your family, whatever your goal is for social media, trying to have real people, because people connect with people. Social media is meant to be social. So real people help stop the scroll. I've got an example of for you of some bad practice of stopping the scroll that I noticed. Now, I'm actually digging out the Church of England here. Now, I actually go to a Church of England church, and I follow this account on Instagram. And you know what? They've got over 15,000 followers on Instagram. It's actually more. These are actually quite old screenshots, these. And you can see how on their Instagram profile, they've got an aesthetic kind of going on. This is what you call the person's profile, and when they post, they're posting pictures with this purple background with some words on, and then also they're posting pictures of people's faces, of local churches, that type of thing. And one of the things that I noticed on my newsfeed, one of these pictures with the writing on would come up. And the first time that I saw it on my newsfeed, oh, stop the scroll. Oh, I'll read that. Oh, it's a Bible verse. It's a Bible verse. Oh no, it's a bit of liturgy. I'm going to read that. It's promoting spiritual practice. Great. I consumed it, finished, went off Instagram. Then the next day on my newsfeed, it's popped up again, but it's actually a different post. If you see that all these ones here, if you look very, very closely, they're actually, the ones with the words are different. They're different posts each time. But because my brain thought that I'd already consumed that post, I scrolled right past it, even though it was different content, but it looked exactly the same. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that when you're creating content, you need to keep it varied. You can't just be posting the same thing over and over again, because people will be like, well, I've seen this, and they'll just scroll right past it. You want to try and stop the scroll. The way you do that is posting different content, not content that looks the same all the time, but content that sticks out, grabs people's attention. And your church, your youth ministry, your children's ministry, whatever, they might have some kind of brand guidelines, or they might have brand colors. Stick to those colors, but try and change the design where you can, so it's not always the same, because you want to stop the scroll. And so just doing the same thing all the time is not going to be good and not a good strategy. So you want to stop the scroll. Now, I've said this one already, and this is to go deep and narrow. Now, we had the list at the poll, didn't we, of all those different social medias, and there are so many choices out there. You could go on Pinterest, LinkedIn. If you're into gaming, you could do Twitch. There is Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You know, I could keep going on, but there are lots of social medias out there. And my advice is this: if you're starting out, go deep and go narrow on maybe 1 or 2 social medias, and that's it. Don't spread yourself thinly thinking, oh, I've got to have a presence here, I've got to have a presence here, I've got to have a presence here. You don't. Do it really well on one social media and go deep and narrow. And once you've kind of conquered it and you feel like I've got a good routine here, I'm making content that's resonating with my audience, then maybe look to spread out. Let me just go from my own context in Camberley Youth for Christ. When I first started at Camberley Youth for Christ, we had a Twitter, account, a Facebook account, and a YouTube account. And I looked at all these, and I looked at my target audience and who we're trying to reach, that we're trying to reach young people. And I saw that Twitter was actually not doing any of my goals. It wasn't doing anything for the charity. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to drop Twitter. I'm not going to post on it. I'm just going to leave it. And instead focus my attention on Instagram, because that's where young people were at the time. So I focused and went deep on Instagram. Then I started to get grips of that, and I thought, right, well, Facebook has been great for connecting with parents, connecting with other churches and church congregations. So let's do some stuff on Facebook as well. And then we had a little look at, I felt like we could go onto YouTube as well, because some of our content could go from video from Instagram that could be used on YouTube. So we did that. So yeah, don't be you do not need to have a presence on all social medias. Do it well on one. Be focused with your goals. Be focused with your niche, and that will help grow your account. Honestly, that's what the professionals always suggest. The 1 in 5 rule. Okay, so what is this 1 in 5 rule? Well, when it comes to church accounts, I'm thinking of church here. One of the things that we do is we go, come to our Sunday service event, come to our Sunday service event, come to our Sunday service event. That's all we post. We just post about our events and that's it. But as I mentioned before, social media is designed to be social. It's meant to be for meaningful conversations, meant to spark engagement. If you bumped into your friend and all they said to you was, oh, come to this event, come to this event, come to this event, you're going to think, no, that we need to create a relationship here. We need to get to know each other before I'm coming to your event. So this 1 in 5 rule is this, that actually only 1 of 5 of your posts should be a call to action being come to an event, volunteer for something, donate towards our charity, donate to our church. That is a call to action. Only 1 out of 5 should be that. The other 4 should be about promoting spiritual practice. They should be about having meaningful conversations, engagement, entertaining stuff. And only 1 of your posts should be about coming to events. Honestly, those accounts that have this strategy will do much better. If your account is just as a signpost for events, then that's a bit boring and I'm not going to follow you unless I go to the church and I just want to find out there. We need more meaningful conversations. So 1 in 5 rule is really good. Target audience is mine. I've kind of said this a lot, but who is your target audience? And a great question to ask for starting out on social media is, who am I aiming my content at? Who am I trying to aim for here? And if you can have your target's audience in mind, then that's going to help with your content ideas. It's going to help keep you focused. and that type of thing. So we're a youth work charity, and we use Instagram to reach young people. It makes sense. So our content is young people focused. So we got that there. Keep your target audience in mind. And, you know, if you're a church, do some research and find out what social media people use the most and focus on that. Have your target audience always in mind. Where's their attention at? Is it on Facebook? Is it on Instagram? Is it on Twitter? You know, you have your target audience always in mind. And you should always ask the question, why should someone follow me? Why? Hopefully because you're bringing value to them. I'll just talk about that in a second. I've said this a lot, be social on social. Another part to add on this is being engaging as well. That if someone, you know, comments on your picture, are you commenting back and saying, thank you so much for commenting on my photo. I hope you have a great day. You know, the more positivity we spread, the more engagement, the more that we can spread light, and people will think good about our social media accounts. There's something called the law of reciprocity, which basically means if you do something good for someone else, they're more likely to do something good back to you. So the more that we are engaging, that we are nice, we do all these things, then actually people are more likely to engage with you in the future. The law of reciprocity. Social media consistency is key. It really is key. And it's going to link into this strategy here, which is a great one for social media, and it's know you, like you, and trust you. Let me explain this. So it kind of links in with the consistency for the know you part. So if you only post once a month on social media, people aren't going to know you. You're not going to show up. Once a month is not enough to get people to know you. So you have to be consistent on social media. I don't want to make people feel overwhelmed, because some of you are starting this completely from scratch and thinking, Ollie's telling me I've got to post more than once a month or whatever. You know, it's important that you do what you can, but look to improve, and practice makes better. But you need to be showing up. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, I'd much rather have people go all in than rather just stick the toe in. You know, if you're serious about wanting to reach people on social media, don't do it half-hearted. Go for it and get people to know you. Then hopefully people will like you, that actually your content is something that's resonating with people. You know, if you've got a church, if you're an elder of a church, get your vicar on social media. People hopefully should like your vicar. And so they've got that relationship there, and it's going to help the account and help with the social media. And then finally, if people know you, if people like you, then they will trust you. And so when it does come to a call to action, when it comes to come to our church service on Sunday, we're doing this, or join us on YouTube for our live service, join us on Zoom. When it comes to these call to actions, if people trust us, they're going to be more successful. So we can't just keep on posting, come to an event. Actually, we need to be doing more with it. So know you, like you, trust you. A very broad strategy, but a really good strategy. Finally, and this is extremely important, we need to provide value. Value is key. And how do we provide value to someone? Well, we ask that question, why should someone follow me? And a reason why someone might follow you is because you're helping them overcome an issue. You're helping them overcome a problem. On my Instagram account, one of the things I noticed with young people is actually they were struggling with sleep. And part of my goals for social media is to help young people and to create content that's relevant to them. So I made a social media post on Instagram that gave advice on how you can get better sleep. I remember when when young people were working from home in lockdown, I created a post, 10 ways of how you can work better from home. These are the valuable content. This is the shareable content because you're helping solve problems. So, thinking about your target audience, if you're working for a church, what is some of the things and the issues and the problems that some of your congregation are facing? Maybe it could be they struggle with their how to read the Bible. They don't know how to read the Bible. Could you create some social media content that gives 3-4 tips on how to read the Bible and do it in a real easy way that people can consume it? This type of social media is stuff that does better. So yeah, give value. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got a strategy now, and I've not really specifically talked about the social medias. And I thought I would show you this table here, but I haven't put on which social media it links to. So I've got 5 columns here because I'm going to talk about 5 social medias. I'm going to talk about what kind of content to post on that platform. I'm going to talk about who the target audience could be in terms of demographics of how many people of what's most popular for that social media, and then I've got some advice of how often is like the general advice of how often to be posting content. Okay, so in the chat section, let's say the column on the left, let's call that number 1. Would anyone like to guess in the chat section what social media do you think that one is? So the content is videos, photos, status update. That maybe the target audience age should be 24 to 65 plus. May see I need to open up the chat so I can see what people are saying. Facebook, correct. Facebook is that one right there. So Facebook is one of the most, is still the most popular platform in the world. And I know some of you here are maybe a little bit older in the 65 plus category. And I wish that I'd had the numbers for you, but people who are in their 80s are on Facebook. Believe me, trust me. People who are also from the ages from 24 to 65, that's because there's kind of like an even split around different ages categories. So don't think that old people aren't on Facebook, because they are. Not everyone, and I'm sure some of you here may be in that older bracket, and you might not be on social media, but I assure you that some of your friends and even some of your family will be on Facebook. So yeah, so we got Facebook there. Let's have a little look at this. So videos do really, really well on Facebook, and it's best with videos with captions or subtitles. That does really well. Photos do still well. It's a platform where you can post videos, you can post photos. There's also groups. You've got your own, you can have your own profile. You can also create a profile for a charity or a business or a church. Yeah, so status updates still do really well as well on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook is still very much a visual platform. And so videos and photos do well. Okay, let's go to column 2. Maybe the word IG kind of maybe gives it away for some people, but yeah, that's correct. Instagram, thank you so much for those who guessed there. Instagram is indeed the next one. So Facebook, as I mentioned, they own Instagram. And when Instagram was first created in 2010, it was very much a platform just for photos. And that was it. All you could do was post photos. So you saw my poster doing a bungee jump. I actually used to work at that bungee jump in Scotland. There you go for you right there. Bit an interesting fact from me. But yeah, but Instagram, since been bought by Facebook, has actually had lots of new features. So they went from just having photos, then you could post videos and photos, and that was just in like the news feed on your profile. And then they've added something called carousel, when you can post multiple photos in one piece of content. You've now got IG Reels, which is a bit like TikTok, and basically they're just short videos around from like 15 seconds all the way up to 30 seconds, I believe. I don't know if it's a minute yet. And they're meant to be short, punchy videos, all filmed, meant to be best filmed landscape rather than portrait. You got IG stories. This again is can be up to a 15 second video. And the idea of IG stories is that they're not there forever, and they're just there for 24 hours. So there was an app called Snapchat, and basically Snapchat was literally you create content that just lasts for 24 hours. A lot of young people quite enjoyed making that content, and that could be photos or videos. And then Instagram decided to copy them, and that's what Instagram also did for IG Reels as well, because they kind of copied TikTok. And then IGTV is for longer form videos as well. So Instagram has a lot of different features. Sometimes it can be quite overwhelming to understand it all, but again, like, it's all about practice, having a go. You're not going to break it. it. I remember, I think of my mum, and when she gets a new TV, she's so scared of her TV that she thinks she's going to break it. But actually, the best way for her to learn how to use her TV is to have a go, have a practice. Don't be afraid of it. Also, like YouTube and Google is a great place. If you don't know what to do, you can Google on there, and there's advice on there. Okay, let's go to the third one. Someone straight away, well done, Fran. Boom, Twitter. That is correct. Twitter. I can't remember the date that it was invented. It was back in my other slides. And when it was first there, it was very much you just write tweets, and these are just like a very mini blog of I always forget, it's either 160, it used to be 160 characters or 140 characters. I'm terrible at remembering numbers. But it was just like words and like a mini blog type thing, and they're called tweets. And they've added more features over time as well. They've upped their characters. It's now at 280 characters where you can write about stuff and send links. It's now becoming much more visual. So rather than just written stuff, actually videos and GIFs and photos do really well now on Twitter. Again, I need to say that Twitter's not my area of expertise. I'm more an expert on Instagram, or I'm more familiar with Instagram. But those are the ideas for Twitter. A lot of my friends use it for football updates or that type of thing, or news. It's pretty good for that. And you get to have an insight into celebrities as well. That's what I remember about Twitter, that like Facebook is more for your friends. Facebook again, Instagram, like for your own friends. Twitter is very much for your friends, but then also following celebrities, following big organizations, small organizations. It's kind of like for everyone, whereas Facebook and Instagram, the idea is meant to be your own connections. So we've got that one there. So around recommended to around 5 tweets. I just Googled that. That's what someone said, if you want to keep a good audience there. So this one is YouTube. Thank you so much for commenting, YouTube. This is pretty simple, but there are other features now coming to YouTube, but it's mainly for long form video. I know a lot of churches use it for streaming their services onto. It's really good for that. Facebook is also fairly good for that. I know sometimes there's a few technical issues. I find that potentially YouTube has been better for that. Thank you for the heads up. Much appreciated. So you've got that one there, and then the final one is TikTok. I love TikTok. It's they're short videos from not 0 seconds. That's not really a video. I don't actually know the shortest amount of video you could do, but it can go all the way up to a minute. And again, these are just short videos, and that's it. So you can see here, I've got kind of the age bracket for each one, and recommended how many times to do these types of things here. 3 seconds minimum. Thank you so much, AJ, for that. So you can see here that I've encouraged you to do a lot of content, and that is one of the biggest battles that we have when it comes with content, of thinking, oh sugar, I've got to do 3 to 5 bits of content on Facebook to have a presence there. Oh, I've got to do 5 to daily content on Instagram to have a presence there. Oh, I've got to do 5 tweets a week. These are all a week, by the way. I didn't mention that, the bottom column. And you can see there's a lot on there. But again, I want to encourage you to think about going deep and narrow, rather than spread yourself on all of these social medias. We drop Twitter, and I'm completely fine with that. If you find out who your target audience, where does it resonate, and go with that social media. Cool. I think I've still got a few more minutes left. Sorry, Sam, how long have I got left? I've completely lost the time.
I'll give you another minute.
Another minute. Okay, great. So let me just briefly talk about safeguarding, because that might have been something that you might have been thinking about. Safeguarding is really important if you're a church account or a youth work account or something on the lines of that. I just wanted to say that, I've talked about that a lot of the negatives are, at the start, that there are negatives when it comes to social media. And some people are scared to go on social media because of all the negatives and because of safeguarding, that sometimes it can be a bit of a minefield. And it can, but there's some really simple practices that you can do. And often the best practice is that, you know, if you're doing a church account, that you make sure that you have multiple people on the account. Don't ever do something alone. If it's an organization, like for Camberley Youth for Christ, I have my safeguarding officer on all my accounts, as well as myself, and also a trustee. So everything, like if I was getting some messages from young people or something like that, actually it's not my own personal account. Actually, instead, I'm doing it with people being able to see and watch it. So being transparent, not being transparent is key. I can't remember if I got that the right way around. Just making sure that you are transparent on social media as well. Save, stress, and schedule. There are lots of places where you can schedule. I've got them linked in my website. And then finally, I've got some 15 apps to recommend. They're all on my Instagram help sheet, so make sure you download that. And there's some bonus ones there as well. So I just wanted to say this to finish, Sam. Let me say this. I read it from a book about sleep. I'm really interested in sleep. Sleep's so important. And this book is called Sleep Smarter, 21 Ways to Get Better Sleep. So it provided 21 ways. And I loved what they said at the end of this book. They said, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge applied equals power. So this stuff only works if you apply yourself, that actually if you have a go. Practice makes better. Can't be perfect on it. But if you're willing to have a go and have a practice, bit of strategy, then you can do well on social media. And I'm done there.